and welcome to Fantasy Baseball. Today it is Thursday, September 4th. I am Chris Towers here with Scott White, and we are going to recap all of Wednesday's action. We've got some exciting potential breakouts. We've got some drop-o-meter players to talk about, and we've got the dog of the week, and I think it's a fascinating one this week. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get to it. Scott, who is your oh my goodness gracious player from Tuesday?
Well, I got to go with Cade Horton. It's been a long time coming for Cade Horton. What he did Tuesday specifically was throw 5 no-hit innings, struck out 6 against the Braves. But, 5 no-hit innings, that would seem like a remarkable feat normally. But it's kind of just what Cade Horton's been doing for... Well, I have last 9 starts now. Last 9 starts for Cade Horton. A .77 ERA, a .81 whip, 8.4 K per 9. I guess you could be disappointed in the 8.4 K per 9, but when you're facing so few hitters, it kind of puts it in a different light. Now, of those 9 starts where he's had those ridiculous ratios, only 2 have been quality starts. Because only twice has he gone the minimum 6 innings needed for a quality start. So it's like he hasn't been nearly as useful in fantasy as those ratios would have you believe. But like, he's probably been more useful than we've given him credit for, particularly in categories leagues with the ratio help he can offer. Is he this good? Well, no, nobody's this good. Is he good enough that you should just plant him in your lineup the way we've done Drew Rasmussen? Okay, maybe there'll be short starts, but those ratios will be so good that you don't mind so much.
I think in Roto, yes. I think definitely
you think in Roto.
So? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
and I
probably.
I say that as someone who I think I'm much more skeptical of Cade Horton than you probably are in terms of what he's achieving right now.
I haven't given him a lot of credit, in large part because when the starts are this short consistently, there's like you pretty much have to have outlier ratios like that to matter in fantasy. But you start looking at the game log for Cade Horton. Again, 9 starts with a .77 ERA. It's like, okay, I guess now with 3.5 weeks left in the season, maybe it's time to get on board here. But you look at his ERA estimators, they're approaching 4. Some of them exceed 4. So like
even in this 8 start stretch, it's a 4.14 xFIP.
The swinging strike rate is pretty good. I mentioned the K per 9 is just okay, but it's kind of skewed by him facing so few hitters. But the swinging strike rate is it's just okay. He puts the ball in the air. It's pretty balanced in terms of ground balls and fly balls, but he's allowed so few home runs. I think to be to the point of being unbelievable, especially since average exit velocity is about 90 miles per hour off Cade Horton. So he was a top prospect and deserves, I think, extra credit for that. But I guess I'd just be a little worried about saying, okay, so because these ratios have been so good for his last 9 starts, then I don't have to worry about the fact that the starts are so short. Because it's like if he had a 4 ERA over his next, 3 starts, 4 starts, however many he has left, I don't think that would shock anybody.
No. And here's the risk with the 5-inning start is that margin for error between a good start and a bad start is really slim.
Exactly.
You give up 2 earned runs in a 5-inning start, that's pretty good. You give up 3, that's pretty bad. And that is just 1 run. Right. Like that. And look, ultimately that doesn't matter all that much. It's just 1 run over the course of a full week, but it's still, he needs to be exceptional if he's only going 5 innings most starts. And he has been getting exceptional results for 2.5 months, really. I mean, going back to the start of July, he had a 152 ERA in July as well.
I think Cade Horton is good. I think he has shown he has a bright future as a starter for the Cubs when he's allowed to pitch like a normal starter.
Yes.
But I think it's a trap right now. And we're mostly talking to people, again, with 3.5 weeks left in the season. We're mostly, and some leagues might not even include all 3.5 of those weeks. So we're mostly talking to people that are like strong contenders at this point. And strong contenders likely have strong pitching staffs and probably don't need to mess around with somebody like Horton is kind of my thought. If you happen to have made it this far and you have a weak pitching staff, okay, he might represent. I mean, what is he? How rostered is he? I
think he's pretty close to 90% at least.
Yeah, so it's not like we can even. It's not even really an ad drop discussion. It's just how committed are you to starting him every week? And I think most good teams with good pitching staffs, I could come up with 5 or 6 starters that I feel like are more impactful on a week-to-week basis with less risk.
Now, here's a fun question. Who would you rather start next week? Cade Horton at Atlanta or Eury Perez, who gets the Nationals, who just destroyed him, and the Tigers in what looks like a 2-start week? Who would you rather start?
You don't see how you can start Eury Perez. I mean, 5 of 6 starts now have been disastrous. And I don't think that's overstating it. I mean,
No, he's got an 8.53 ERA over his past 6 starts.
Yeah, this particular start, 7 earned runs in 4 innings against the Nationals. The previous one, he didn't even make it out of the first inning against the Mets.
I know, I was there.
You were there, huh? It was a sad day for you. So I don't know what's going on with him. There was kind of what kicked off this bad stretch, a bad start against the Guardians, where there was that clip of Jose Ramirez kind of sharing with the rest of the dugout the way that Eury Perez was tipping his pitches. So is it still related to that? You would think, as publicized as that video was, you'd think the Marlins would have gotten to the bottom of it real quick and fixed it. But who knows? Maybe it's more subtle. Maybe he's tipping his pitches in more ways than one. He did say in that start against the Mets where he didn't make it out of the first, Eury Perez said his hand was dry and he had trouble getting moisture on it. Like he feels like he can control his pitches better when his hand is wet.
I get that.
I don't know how it's still pretty muggy out there. It's still we're a few weeks from the end of summer. I don't know when you could ask for your hand to be wetter than right now. I guess if it's raining, but I don't know. I feel like that's grasping at straws, and all of this is grasping at straws. I just know you can't start Eury Perez right now.
Yeah, for some context, he went 4 innings on Wednesday, gave up 7 earned runs on 8 hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. The thing that's been really, notable for Perez lately is it just seems like every single guy who reaches base against him scores. His left on base rate for the season is 67%, which is pretty bad, or 64% now. I would guess it's a lot lower than that lately because it seems like every start it's like 5 hits, 4 earned runs. And I think part of that is just he gives up a lot of home runs, and that's probably always going to be a bit of an issue for Eury Perez. Even if he lives up to expectations, I think it could be he's not likely to be this good, but like Garrett Cole and Justin Verlander, where even when those guys are really good, they give up a lot of home runs. You can live with it because they never put guys on base. And Perez still has a whip right around 1 for the season, I believe. Yeah, just a little over 1. So that's still a strong skill set for him. His xERA is still, it was 3.19 coming into this start. His velocity was down a little bit in this one, which is not great.
Secondary offerings, not on the fastball.
It was down about half a mile on the fastball, right? Which is a concern. I want to point that out just because it's a concern because he's grown more fastball dependent this season than he was as a rookie. His fastball rate was about 45% as a rookie. It's been closer to 55% this year. And his curveball has especially been a problem for him. And that's a pitch that Eury Perez has been working on since coming back from Tommy John surgery. I thought he was going to shelve it because he didn't love the feel for it as a rookie. Instead, he's added a sweeper in addition to keeping the curveball, and the curveball's just been bad, and it might be time to shelve that pitch and just go fastball, sweeper, slider, change. I don't know if that's something the Marlins are going to do, but look, I still think this guy is super, super talented. I still think he's going to be a great pitcher. I think he's just going through it. He was excellent in I think, June, was it, or July? There was a month where Eury Perez was really, really good.
I moved him into my top 24 rest of season, the way those first few outings went. And obviously, I feel like Eury Perez is unknown talent, so it didn't take much to get him that high in the rank. He's always looking healthy. He's looking effective. Let's move him way up. But then that's what makes this stretch so hard to explain. It's just been terrible, which is why I think it's probably tipping related.
Yeah,
but
or could just be running out of gas at the end of the season coming back from Tommy John surgery.
I guess, but it's not like he's thrown that many innings.
Yeah, just grasping for straws here because Eury Perez looking pretty bad right now. I think he'll turn it around. I think he'll be excellent next season, but I agree it's going to be really hard to start him this week. Next week, week 25, with the Nationals and Tigers. Unfortunately, it's a 2-start week. We are going to talk more about some pitchers and some hitters who are struggling and whether it's time to drop them. We are going to talk about the Dog of the Week shortly. First, before we go to our break, just want to point out Mason Miller had an immaculate inning where he threw 9 straight sliders. That is bonkers. Now, what was fun about it is the first pitch should not have been a strike. It was out of the strike zone. Then he got 8 straight whiffs to close out the immaculate inning. So I'm going to say he earned that one, even with the generous strike zone on the first. He is still, I've seen some people even in saves plus holds leagues dropping Mason Miller, and because it had been a while since he had even gotten a hold. I still think in those kind of leagues he's a must roster, and I assume next season he's going to be the closer for the San Diego Padres.
He's only entered prior to the 8th once since joining the Padres. It's been very consistently the 8th.
Oh yeah,
and Robert Suarez is one of the most prolific save getters.
Yeah, I don't know what's been going on there.
I don't know why anybody in a saves plus holds leagues would lose faith in Miller.
All right, we are going to take our first break, and we'll be right back on Fantasy Baseball Today.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, we are back on Fantasy Baseball Today. I am Chris Towers here with Scott White, and let's talk some news and notes from Wednesday. And unfortunately, Roman Anthony was placed on the IL before Wednesday's game, and that seems very likely to end his season. I saw 4 to 6 week timetable, so doesn't seem likely we're going to see him at least in the regular season. Maybe he gets out in the postseason, but if that's it, he finishes his rookie season with a 292 average, 396 on base, 463 slug, 8 home runs, 4 steals in 71 games. The fantasy stats, a little underwhelming. He was definitely a better real life than fantasy player, at least as a rookie, but obviously an outrageously talented player. Hits the ball really hard, has an excellent approach at the plate, even a decent athlete. Where do you see yourself ranking Roman Anthony for 2026?
Probably top in the
top
outfield.
50?
Well,
yes.
I have a hard time coming up with a concept for what top 50 looks like. I can imagine the first 2 rounds, first 3 rounds, but no, I don't think top 50 overall, because that would put him in the top 4 rounds. I think he'll be a top 24 outfielder for me. And that's, Frank was quizzing me yesterday. Joe Adell, is he top 36?
Yeah, he had another home run today.
Is George Springer top 24? And I said no to both of those because I just, I'm not stacking up names, obviously, to say for sure, but my concept of how plentiful the outfield is, particularly when you bring all the injured guys back in, as you would going into a new season. I just think it's going to be hard for players with clear risk factors, I think, to give them the benefit of the doubt. And the risk factor for Roman Anthony is, okay, well, he hasn't actualized the power yet. It's there potentially, but is he going to put the ball in the air enough? We saw it a little more leading up to the injury. My hunch is he will. My hunch is, one of my bold predictions for next year is Roman Anthony's going to lead the Red Sox in home runs. So I am inclined to rank him a little more glass half full, which I think people tend to do with younger players in general. And so I think that's going to nudge him into the top 24, but just barely.
I think at least he'll be a top 5 round player. I think top 60 pick.
So that sounds like you're going to have him. Because if I'm saying barely top 24.
Yeah, the number 24 outfielder was the last pick of the 7th round last year, basically.
Right. So it sounds like you'll have him more like your 15th
well,
outfielder.
There's a difference between like what the Royal we will do and what the non-Royal I will do.
You should stop using the Royal we because it just confuses me.
What I think is I think 6th or 7th round sounds right, but I would guess he ends up probably not quite as high as where Wyatt Langford was last season. And James Wood was 50th in ADP, and that's like he had a more immediately impactful fantasy profile. So I think Roman Anthony probably shouldn't be higher than that, but I feel like people are going to talk themselves into it.
Because Anthony's not really a base stealer. That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts a lot, at least for roto value. I mean, points league is probably a different conversation because of how much he gets on base.
All right, Spencer Arrighetti was placed on the IL with elbow inflammation. That's a frustrating one because it kind of comes out of nowhere. Probably ends his fantasy season. Will Smith left Wednesday's game with a right hand contusion after being hit by a foul ball, or can't remember if it was a foul ball or just a pitch. Dalton Rushing replaced him, and Smith will have further testing done to determine the severity of the injury. If you need a second catcher, maybe Dalton Rushing gets a little more opportunity. He's shown some ability to hit the ball hard. Strikeout rate is like 38%, so that's untenable right now, but still have a lot of faith in him long term if he gets the opportunity.
Yeah, if he does. And I don't know, catcher's so deep. We just had another couple catcher prospects come up at the September 1st. I don't know how much either of them is going to play. That's Carter Jensen and Harry Ford on the Royals and Mariners respectively. So they got some pretty big names ahead of him in those two organizations. But like Rushing, and maybe it's unfair to judge him on a stat line because the playing time has been so sparse, but it's a really bad stat line. Like
I'm mostly just willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that it's just he's not playing hardly at all. And he's still hitting the ball really hard.
I hope he gets traded because it was a shock when the Dodgers called Dalton Rushing up, and
unless they have
saying only to play backup catcher, not left field like he did in the minors.
Yeah, unless they have faith in him playing the outfield, but even then they've got some really good corner outfielders who are probably going to start at Double-A next season. So not sure where the playing time's supposed to come from Dalton Rushing. Will Smith's only got like 9 years left on his contract though, so Dalton Rushing may get to play when he's in his mid-30s. More Dodgers news. They have no plans to bring Roki Sasaki back to the majors at this point, and frankly, I don't see any reason to. His fastball's still sitting around 94 miles per hour in his most recent rehab start. I think he just needs a full offseason to be rebuilt at this point because he's got 8 strikeouts to 8 walks and 14 innings on his rehab assignment. I just haven't seen anything. Roki Sasaki's still 64% rostered in CBS Fantasy Leagues. I guess a bunch of those are keeper, dynasty, or just dead rosters. But if you've got Roki Sasaki, there's no reason to hold on to him.
Maybe leagues with a lot of IL spots.
Yeah, unlimited IL spots, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know because we don't have that many dead leagues. It's not a huge problem. But I know,
just dead teams. More.
I know half the teams in the league, not even half the CBS leagues are like dynasty leagues. So for him to be 64% roster, that's pretty surprising.
Kyle Tucker missed Wednesday's game with his calf injury. The hope is that he'll be able to play on Friday, although very much up in the air at this point. And I still think there's a chance he goes on the IL, and maybe Owen Casey gets called back up. Pico Armstrong was also out of the lineup Wednesday. We're going to talk a little more about him in just a minute, so hold any thoughts you have there. Jackson Chourio was out of the lineup with hamstring stiffness. Kyle Finnegan suffered an injury while warming up to enter Wednesday's game, so that's something to keep an eye on. Shelby Miller was placed on the 60-day IL with a sprained UCL in his right elbow. His season is over. Shohei Ohtani was a late scratch from Wednesday's start with an illness. He was not feeling well on Tuesday when he hit a 120-mile-an-hour home run, just in case you needed more reason to be impressed by Shohei Ohtani. Emmett Sheehan got the start instead, which is a little frustrating because we didn't think he was going to start this week, and he was fine. 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, and he had like 18 swings and misses.
20
in this one. He's starting to
21.
Look like he's starting to look like he's figuring it out. So hopefully you hung on to him.
I'm very excited again about Emmett Sheehan for next year because when he first came back, my enthusiasm was mostly tied to his outlier whiff rates in the minors, and even during his last stretch in the majors 2 years ago. He was getting, I don't know, at the time I was calling them Spencer Strider-like swinging strike rates. That doesn't mean the same thing anymore.
That was a compliment at one point.
That was the gold standard. That Strider 2023 season was the gold standard for starting pitchers getting swinging strikes and 19% rate. And Sheehan was doing similar things, and it wasn't there at first, but all of a sudden it's back. His previous start, he went 7 innings, got 10 strikeouts. The start before that, he went 6. This was, again, like you said, an unexpected start for Sheehan, inserted last minute, so he didn't give us the length we're looking for. And because he's not like a regular part of the Dodgers rotation right now, it's hard to imagine in a typical fantasy league finding use for him. But presuming Sheehan has a job to call his own to begin next year with the way his whiffs have taken off here recently and his track record of those, I think there's a lot of reason to be excited about him as a sleeper.
Agreed. Kyle Stowers could go on a minor league rehab assignment this weekend. He's been on the IL since mid-August with that oblique injury, which means we could see him before the end of the season. And just a reminder, he was an all-star, was in the swing-off in the all-star game, 30-plus homer, 100 RBI pace before the injury, was kind of having a Brent Rooker-esque breakout here, and I hope we get to see him just because I'll take any more information I can get on a guy who broke out of nowhere like that, because I think that's going to be really hard to rank him for 2026. I think at this point it's got to be a top 40 outfielder, right?
Well, I was saying yesterday when Frank was asking if I thought Joe Adele should be top 36, I was saying I think I'd still take Kyle Stowers over him.
They've both got excellent underlying stats to back it up.
Right. The next 3 weeks might sort that out.
Yeah. All right. Adolis Garcia missed his 3rd straight game with a quad injury. Isaac Paredes has been cleared for baseball activities with his hamstring injury. Still not clear if he's going to play during the regular season. I kind of doubt it. Anthony Santander could begin a minor league rehab assignment at AAA next week as he comes back from that shoulder injury. It's been a long time waiting for him. Mike Trout missed his...
He was terrible before that, Santander, but I seem to recall he had been playing through that shoulder issue for a while.
I think so, yeah.
So I don't like he, I don't know how much time he actually plays the final 2 weeks, the final week and a half, but
would like to see something from him.
Yeah. I don't think Santander is done as a fantasy contributor.
All right. Mike Trout missed his 2nd straight game with a skin infection. Taylor Ward returned to the lineup after missing 2 games after running into the wall in left field over the weekend. I'm shocked he's back as quickly as he is. He went 0 for 2 with a walk. Marlins placed Derek Hill on the IL, and Jack Caglione was back in the Royals lineup on Wednesday, and he went 0 for 2 with a walk and a strikeout. So still waiting for Jack Caglione to figure things out, and we are still waiting for Pico Armstrong to figure out, and that is the Dog of the Week. It's time for the Dog of the Week segment brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, makers of NexGard Plus, Afoxolaner, Moxidectin, and Pyrantel chewable tablets. Used with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Ask your vet if NexGard Plus is right for your dog. And let's have a little Pete Crow-Armstrong discussion. I know you guys probably had a Pete Crow-Armstrong discussion yesterday. Mm-hmm. He has been benched consecutive games. They are giving him a little reset. And look, he's 2 for 19 over the past week. He had a 446 OPS in August. He has just been bad for not quite as long as he was good, but it's been a while now, about a month and a half. And there was a really good piece by Matthew Trueblood at NorthsideBaseball.com on Wednesday, talking about how Pete Crow-Armstrong's mechanics are just all screwed up at the plate. He's moved a little bit off the plate. He's brought his feet closer together, but he's taking a much longer stride when he swings, and it's just screwed his timing up. And that's especially bad for Pete Crow-Armstrong, who makes terrible swing decisions. Mm-hmm. And so he's got to have excellent bat-to-ball skills to make up for that. And right now he doesn't. I don't know if you can fix that mid-season. It went wrong mid-season, so I guess it's not unreasonable.
I think some people can definitely fix that mid-season. We don't have enough of a track record for Crow-Armstrong to know how quickly he bounces back from these sorts of things. But these are the kinds of things that contribute to slumps for every player.
Yes.
So I'm not particularly alarmed to hear that. It's nice to have the insights. I do think it exemplifies why players with poor plate discipline, I don't like them. I don't like them. I generally try to avoid them in fantasy, even in leagues where plate discipline doesn't count for something in and of itself, like a standard roto league. Is just when they slump, it tends to be a much more debilitating slump.
Yeah.
And we saw that from Michael Harris earlier this season. We're seeing it from Pete Crow-Armstrong now.
We're seeing it from like Yainer Diaz. We've seen Salvador Perez has had stretches like that in his career as well.
Yeah. And
there's just nothing to fall back on.
Right. I mean, Pete Crow-Armstrong, even at his best, is a low OBP guy. I mean, his first 3 months of the season, when everybody agreed Pete Crow-Armstrong was like an MVP candidate, only one of those 3 months did he have even a 300 OBP. Yeah. So, like, the guy doesn't get on base that much. It's just there are enough of the counting stats when he's going well, the home runs and the steals especially, that you don't care so much. But now we're seeing the other side of the coin here. It's pretty ugly. I think, well, you haven't really brought up the point, but I think you want to talk about where we rank Pete Crow-Armstrong for next year, which I think is a much fairer
it's
discussion.
A tough question. It's a tough question to answer right now.
It's a fairer discussion than the one Frank and I were having yesterday, inspired by, I don't know, some people asking questions. They wanted to know if they could drop Pete Crow-Armstrong, and I thought that was such a ridiculous idea that it earned a little bit of a rant for me.
I mean, look, it's your team. Do whatever you want. But no, you shouldn't.
That's always the answer when push comes to shove.
If you really want to.
Like, I don't want to make your decisions for you, but I can tell you what I'd do.
You're probably an adult.
Yeah. But anyway, where did we draft Pete Crow-Armstrong? Because when we were redrafting for the second half, and he hadn't had any kind of slump yet, and so we were only seeing upside. Late first round is what we were talking about.
I think we had him 17th.
He didn't make the first round. I think I may have had him in the first round, at least for Roto.
But and even 17th overall was not high enough.
Yeah, for
some of you.
Maybe I had him more like 14th. Maybe it wasn't first round. Anyway, the point is clearly in the first 2 rounds, and now probably not in the first 2 rounds. Beyond that, I don't know. If he goes on to hit 160 in September like he did in August, then we might be talking about round 4 or 5 even. Yeah. But I don't think he'll hit 160 in September. Maybe this little reset he's on will work. We've seen it work with players surprisingly often.
Seiya Suzuki with the Cubs 2 years ago, I think. 2023 had a similar.
Even Kyle Tucker, just before the calf injury, he was bouncing back. So, maybe it'll work. If you want evidence of how suddenly things can change for Pete Crow Armstrong, just look at his last August versus his versus his September last year. August being the good one and September being the bad one.
I think
so. He could do the reverse of that, and like he could contribute a combined 15 homers and steals in September. I think that's that should not surprise anybody if it happens.
No, that wouldn't surprise me. Him hitting 180 wouldn't surprise me. I think what we might just have to accept about Pete Crow Armstrong, and look, no player's ever a finished product, especially a super talented 23-year-old, but we might just have to accept this as the cost of doing business with Pete Crow Armstrong. Just like it's been with Michael Harris, where he's never quite as good as he looks at his best, and he's never quite as bad as he looks at his worst. And Ellie De La Cruz, another guy who has been a first-round caliber player multiple years in a row now, doing the same thing, really up and down, really inconsistent. But the fantasy skill set for Pete Crow Armstrong, unless it goes disastrously bad in September, he's going to go 30-30. He's at 28-31 right now. But he can't really hit lefties yet. 606 OPS against lefties, 188 batting average. The defense does insulate him somewhat from playing time concern, but as we're seeing over the past month, they've been giving him some pretty regular off days to try to get him right. So it might just be that his ceiling is a first or second round player and his floor is not usable for fantasy. And that might just be a range of outcomes that you have to live with Pete Crow Armstrong.
When you say not usable, you mean for week-long stretches during the season. You don't mean like a full season of unusability.
I mean, that's possible.
Theoretically.
I think things could go wrong that way, but it's not likely.
Right.
The thing is, we probably got a 90th percentile outcome in the first half of the season. We're getting a 10th percentile outcome in the second half of the season. The thing about 10th and 90th percentile outcomes is they happen about 10% of the time, which is not often, but like that's more often than Cal Raleigh hits a home run. Yeah. And Cal Raleigh hits a lot of home runs. Like that happens pretty regularly. So that's one thing you have to think about is that he might just have a really wide error bar. And that's just something we have to live with Pete Crow Armstrong. And we're just seeing the worst of it right now. But I don't think he's this bad, certainly.
No, right. I agree.
And that was the Dog of the Week segment brought to you by Boehringer Ingelheim, the maker of NexGard Plus, Afoxyloner, Moxidectin, and Pyrantel chewable tablets. They provide next-level parasite protection against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in a tasty beef-flavored soft chew. Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting preventive. Ask your vet about NexGard Plus chews. And with that, we will take our second and final break, and we'll be right back.
The crowd loves champions. Gladiator 2 is an epic spectacle.
Remarkable!
To amuse you is my only wish.
The glory is yours, not mine.
Very good. Gladiator 2, rated R. Now streaming on Paramount+.
And we are back on Fantasy Baseball today, and let's fire up the drop-o-meter. We already had Eury Perez discussed earlier. How droppable is he? This is the part of the season where like it's kind of either 0 or 10, right?
I'm going to go with my stock answer for players of this caliber, and I think you have to hold on to Eury Perez just so the dropping doesn't backfire you.
Sure.
You stick him on your bench. That way, you're safe from somebody else picking him up when he turns things around to pitches like an ace. But he's not hurting you either because he's just on your bench. And I understand if you have him and all the other players like that, at some point you got to drop somebody. Yeah. But most of the time it's not like that. You just have one or two of these guys.
Aaron Nola has been terrible all season. There's really nothing positive you can point to. He has one quality start and 4 tries since returning from the IL. He has an 8.38 ERA in that stretch. He gave up 6 earned runs in 5 innings. This is the second time he's given up 6 earned runs since coming back. He is a 2-start pitcher next week against the Mets and Royals. So terrible matchup and pretty good matchup. There's no way you can start Aaron Nola. And if you can't start Aaron Nola in a 2-star week, you probably don't need to keep him around, right?
What did you say the matchups were?
I have it as Mets and Royals.
Okay. I actually could see starting Nola in a points league, and I may rank him in that third tier of the 2-star pitcher rankings. I don't know. I got to see all the names to know for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think Aaron Nola is a big deal anymore. I mean, I have him. He's 60th in my rest of season rankings, so I'd be fine with you dropping him. Anybody that low in the rankings is droppable, fringy. But it's not a situation like if you dropped Aaron Nola, I don't see it backfiring in a major way. I think it's fine. But if you want to use him for the 2 starts, one against the Royals, I think at least in a points league, that's fine too.
He's not so old that I can see him just being completely finished. He's only 32 years old right now. Feels like he's older than that. I think part of that's just he's always been like an old pitcher. Like he's never been a blazing fastball that he throws 60% of the time guy. But he's going to have to be a late round pick next year for me to have any interest in him. What about Casey Mize? He actually had a decent start in this one. 5 innings, 1 earned run, 3 strikeouts. This was probably his best start in about 2 months. He has just 1 quality start in his past 9, only 37 strikeouts in 40 innings with a 6.53 ERA in that span. And yet Casey Mize is still 86% rostered. He's got the Yankees next week in Yankee Stadium. I think he's like a 9 on the drop-o-meter. What about you?
I mean, I'd say 10. I don't see any reason to hold on to him outside of the sort of deep leagues where you obviously want to drop him because
roster anybody who's in rotation,
tumbleweeds.
Same for Clay Holmes. He's at Philadelphia next week. He gave up 2 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. Not a terrible start, but 3 walks. He has a 4.57 ERA since the start of July and has gone more than 5.1 innings once in his last 12 starts. Clay Holmes does not need to be 79% rostered, and he has not needed to be as rostered as he is since July or so.
Right. I agree. Yeah. I mean, we've been saying that for a while now. There's no reason to roster Holmes. He's of no use to you. They should probably move him to the bullpen, especially now that Jonah Tong is up and Nolan McLean and all of them.
It's not clear Sean Manaea needs to be in the rotation. Kodai Senga definitely doesn't need to be in the rotation right now. It's bad right now for the Mets.
That's true. But I would give them, because at least there's a chance with Senga and Manaea. I feel like Clay Holmes is he's washed, at least for this year, the number of innings he's taken on.
And then one more pitcher who I think is just way over rostered, 76% rostered, Zach Littell. He gave up 4 home runs on Wednesday against the Blue Jays. Tough matchup. 5 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings. He's given up 8 homers in 6 starts with the Reds. He has a 4.78 ERA in that stretch, and he's still 76% rostered. We didn't think the trade to Cincinnati was going to go well for Zach Littell, who was already leading the majors in home runs. But I think he's way rostered.
I'm going to disagree with you on this.
Okay.
One, because last start, 3 earned runs in 7 innings. 3 starts ago, 1 earned run in 6 innings. 5 starts ago, 1 earned runs in 7 innings with 8 strikeouts. Like if we're thinking of it in a points league context,
sure,
Zach Littell is a volume guy that might be worth keeping around for the right matchups. I'm not saying he's must rostered. I'm not saying how rostered is he? You said 70-something%. Like that's probably too high. Yeah. But where does he actually rank in points?
He's at San Diego
year to
next
date
week, by the way.
Which is not a bad matchup at all.
Yeah.
Where's he actually rank year to date in points? So Zach Littell has more points than David Peterson, than Gavin Williams, than let's do per game here. So Zach Littell entered this start. It's not updated with this start, but it was 13.3 points per game. That's more than Sonny Gray. That's more than Jose Soriano, who I keep talking up. It's pretty close to Andrew Abbott, to be honest. So I think that's I think that's why Zach Littell is as rostered as he is. He's been those innings he gives you, and the number of like 6 innings, 7 inning starts that are decent. It adds up to a fine number of points.
All right, let's talk about a couple of hitters on the drop-o-meter, and one that I admit I sort of bought into, and I know, Scott, you were pretty bought into Andrew Vaughn. He's been out of the lineup the past 2 days, down to a 276 WOBA over his past 25 games. Did we get fooled?
Maybe. I mean, I think the jury's still out. He looked so good, Andrew Vaughn.
Mm-hmm. And the quality of contact was exceptional.
Yeah. And it's still like the strikeout rate is still better during this bad stretch. Not that it was bad with the White Sox, but it's still like a really good strikeout rate during this rough stretch. And it may just be that Andrew Vaughn's had a bad couple weeks the same way any good player would have a bad couple weeks if he's actually a good player. But since there's such a small sample of him being good, I think the jury's still out. I think it's fine, particularly in shallower leagues like head-to-head if you want to drop Vaughn. That's fine. I mean, it's not clear what he is right now, but I think obviously the odds lean toward him not being useful rest of the way, just given that he hasn't been that useful for most of his career. But I'm not ready in like a theoretical sense to say, okay, it was just this flash in the pan and Vaughn leaving the White Sox isn't really going to be this transformative thing for them. I'm not ready to declare a final verdict in that. I think it's fine to drop him though.
All right. Now I know I don't command the same authority or respect as Frank when I'm sitting in the host chair, and that's fine. Can you give me a drop-o-meter number for one player in the drop-o-meter segment though? Just can you give me a number for one guy?
I said 10 for Mize. That was one. I'll give you a number for all of them. All right. Aaron Nola is a 7. Casey Mize is a 10. Clay Holmes is a 10. Zach Littell is a 6. Andrew Vaughn is a I'm going to give Aaron Nola a 6. I'm going to give Andrew Vaughn a 7.
All right. And then one more. Signs of life for Madison Barger on Wednesday. He went 2 for 4 with 4 RBI. But he has been pretty awful since the end of July. 211 batting average, 583 OPS, if I'm doing the math in my head. Where are we at on Addison Barger here?
I still like the profile. Mm-hmm. There are playing time concerns, especially when he's slumping like he is. And so I think it'd have to be a pretty deep league for you to hold on to him. But worth monitoring in case he turns things around.
All right. No number on that one. That's fine. We can just move on. I do want to also just drop one potential hot take. I think the Brewers peaked too soon. They're kind of falling apart right now. I know they're not bad, but like their pitching is kind of falling apart. I feel like the offense is kind of unsustainable. They've had a ton of bullpen injuries lately. I don't know how worried about them I am in the playoffs. I hope they prove me wrong. They're a fun team. It just, I don't know. I don't think that August is going to prove sustainable.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but even during their winning streak, their latest winning streak, a talking point in the national media was that, yeah, but they're not really built to win the World Series.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. So I think you're in good company with that take.
I guess. I hope I'm wrong. They've got like fun players. I have a lot of questions about the pitching, especially. Let's see if
to be clear, like I am kind of agnostic about the whole thing. Like I am of the mind that playoffs are mostly a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Of course, on a player level, you don't think of it that way.
Yeah.
Like the people playing the game don't think of their outcomes as random, but from the 30,000-foot view,
well,
I think it's fairly random. So the Brewers absolutely could win.
Remember last year they came
the World Series, just like the Padres could win the World Series, or the Tigers could win the World Series.
They were what, an out away from making the NLCS last year? right?
I don't remember.
Am I remembering?
I don't remember.
I feel like that might be true.
You might
Pete
be true.
Alonso
I don't remember. I'm not denying it. I'm just saying I don't remember.
All right, let's see if we can get some straight answers out of you on the legit-o-meter, which only has 2 names. Zach Gallen showing signs of turning it around. 6 innings, no earned runs against the Rangers, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, only 2 whiffs. Are you kidding me? That's weird. The Rangers just didn't swing in this game. It was bizarre. They swung at like 52% of pitches in the strike zone and only 36% overall. But this is 4 quality starts in a row for Zach Gallen and 6 in his past 7. Only 33 strikeouts in 41 innings. I don't think Zach Gallen is back to being Zach Gallen.
No.
Is he useful? Are you starting him next week?
Who's he facing?
Let's find out. I was hoping you wouldn't ask so quickly.
Well, I will tell you while you're looking that up that in that 7-start stretch with the 6 quality starts, Zach Gallen has a 2.20 ERA, a 105 WHIP, 7.9 K per 9. So the 7.9 K per 9 tells you, yeah, it's probably not back. But the other 2 numbers, the 2.20 ERA, 105 WHIP, yeah, that's usable. I'm not saying it's must start.
I think we're probably starting him next week, though. At San Francisco?
I think in many cases you would start him, yes.
It's unlikely that he's a 2-star pitcher because they only play 6 games and he pitches on Tuesday. So, yeah, he's almost certainly going to be a 1-star pitcher. Could be a 2-star pitcher the following week, San Francisco again and Philadelphia. I think we'll see how the next start goes, but I think right now you probably just start Zach Gallen, right?
In most cases. I think if you're preserving ratios, even though he does have the 2.20 ERA, the 105 WHIP in his last 7 starts, like that shouldn't be your expectation with the next start. So if preservation of ratios rather than just accumulating volume is your priority right now, then maybe you consider sitting Zach Gallen, but maybe not. Volume wise, I think you start him.
Another guy who's showing a lot lately, Jack Leiter, who was on the other side of that one, gave up 2 earned runs over 6 innings, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks, 18 whiffs in this one, 9 on the 4-seamer, 3 on the changeup, 5 on the slider, and that is now 3 quality starts in a row for Jack Leiter, who has 24 strikeouts. And this is the most important stat, only 4 walks in that stretch. Now, we've seen very fleeting glimpses from Jack Leiter. How legit do you think this run is from him?
I am encouraged. Look, we all know he has a lot of upside. I've noticed what's coincided with these 3 dominant starts. I mean, truly dominant starts for Jack Leiter consecutively. You mentioned the good control, but what I've also noticed about them, he's leaned especially on his fastball, which is a really good fastball. Could argue his best pitch, and his changeup, which was a new pitch this year. That the kick changeup that was all the rage this spring. Jack Leiter was one of the poster boys for it, and it seems like he's kind of mastered it with the way he's used it recently. I mean, fastball changeup, that classic pairing, play so well off each other, and the results are there. There's reason to be excited for Jack Leiter. I think, now that we're kind of past the hype over the Cam Schlittler and Peyton Tolley and Jonah Tong, assuming they've all been picked up in your league, that whole group of rookie pitchers that have gotten attention recently. I mean, Jack Leiter might be the next guy, unless he's already more rostered.
He's 70%. So there's some leagues where he's available, but he's pretty widely rostered.
I'm surprised. I didn't think he had been good enough for long enough to be so widely rostered.
He has stayed like above 50% for most of the season, which is pretty surprising because it's been last 3 starts withstanding, not a great season for Jack Leiter.
Right.
So,
but trending in the right direction, I think, is the most important thing.
All right, another guy who's like 75% rostered is Joe Adell, who homered again. That's 8 in his last 16 games. And I wanted to highlight an email we got from Gary. That's fantasybaseball at CBSI if you want to be included. Call me crazy, but Joe Adell's 2025 breakout is giving me serious, healthy Byron Buxton vibes. Both were consensus top 10 prospects with freaky athleticism, 5-tool upside, and the kind of power potential scouts drool over. Both took longer than we'd like to figure it out, finally breaking out around age 26 after plenty of strikeout woes. The big difference is Buxton's never topped 120 games in a season. If Adele can simply stay on the field, we're looking at the Byron Buxton dream seasons we actually never got, only stretched across 200 to 300 extra plate appearances. Conclusion, Joe Adele is Byron Buxton, but with bubble wrap. I'll hang up and listen. Well, he doesn't have the speed that Byron Buxton has. And I think Buxton is a better hitter, but that's also with, 6 or 7 seasons now of Byron Buxton hitting at this level? And 1 season of Joe Adele hitting at this level. He had stretches last season where he was pretty useful, but this is the first time we've really seen Joe Adele look like a legitimate everyday caliber hitter. And I know you talked about it yesterday, so you don't have to go too in depth, but
Yeah.
does he need to be 100% rostered?
Well, points leagues are an issue because he's got a 302 OBP. And his
He doesn't
strikeout
strike
rate,
out that much.
it's gotten better, but it's still not like a low strikeout rate. It's still on the higher side. So I think, what is he? Let's just look at the point per game average for Joe Adele.
I'm going to guess 2.83.
You are, it's 2.70. It's 2.70, which is less than TJ Friedel, less than Stephen Kwan, who's been slumping, less than Andy Pajes. It's not that great. So I'm not saying you can't start Adele in a points league, particularly with him being so hot right now. But I'd stop short of saying he's must start in a points league. And, at the start of August, he was batting .231 with a 761 OPS. At that point, he had hit 21 home runs. And I think the perspective on him was much different in fantasy than he has a great August, and now he's the hottest thing. And maybe that was always destined to happen because, as we've been saying for Joe Adele all year, you look at his StatCast page, XBA 280, xSlug 571. It's very impressive, and he's fallen well short of that. So is that hot August him making up that ground, or are the expected stats themselves fake? Yeah. And Joe Adele's just coming off a really hot stretch. And I lean
more towards the latter.
I lean more towards the latter too, and that's why I've been kind of lukewarm in my assessment of Joe Adele recently. Even though there are if you wanted to be burning hot for Adele, I get it. You could make that argument pretty easily, but he's been so underwhelming for so long that he's got to go the extra mile to prove it to me, I feel like.
All right. We also had Nasim Nunez of the Nationals hit 2 home runs on Wednesday, his first and second career homers. He had 2 homers in 63 games at AAA. I'm going to go ahead and say he doesn't matter, and we can move on to waiver wire pitchers. And that starts with Zebby Matthews, who is 47% rostered. He has incorporated a sinker into his arsenal since the start of August. That was something that I mentioned he might want to look into just because the four-seamer gets hit so hard. And he has a 3.73 ERA since the start of August. Went 6 innings, 1 earned run, 3 hits against the White Sox, 5 Ks, 2 walks, 14 whiffs. He misses a lot of bats. Had multiple whiffs on 5 different pitches. In this one, he gets the Angels and Diamondbacks next week. I think you probably want to add Zebby Matthews. I know that's been kind of famous last words.
Yeah. When Frank and I were talking about him for this White Sox start, I was saying I feel like there's a lot of Zebby Matthews fatigue because he has been among the more interesting pitchers available enough to mention in these contexts. And when we mention him, when we hype him up, including his previous start against the White Sox, it often backfires. But I think my simple rule of thumb for pitchers, if the strike percentage is good and the swinging strike percentage is good, he's probably good. And for Zebby Matthews, just since returning from the minors, 66% strike rates, 13% swinging strike rate. Both of those numbers are good. Yeah, I think he's good. And that doesn't mean there won't be growing pains. Maybe he is fine-tuning his arsenal, as you point out, with the sinker. And, maybe you can't entirely trust him right now, but I do think Zebby Matthews is someone you shouldn't grow fatigued over, because I think the talent is legitimate.
Who do you prefer as a 2-star pitcher for next week? Zebby Matthews or Ryan Bergert from the Royals, who 5 one-hit shutout innings with 6 strikeouts, 3 walks on Wednesday, 7 whiffs with the sweeper, 3 with the slider. And he's at Cleveland and at Philadelphia next week. I don't think the strikeout upside is quite the same for Bergert as it is for Matthews, but he's been very good since joining the Royals. What do you think there?
Yeah, I don't think there is a lot of strikeout upside for Bergert. I don't really get the Bergert thing. I've seen kind of I've seen people in the fantasy baseball space voice enthusiasm for Bergert without really giving reasoning behind it.
I'll explain what I like about him, or what I think is interesting about him. He's got a high arm slot, so he gets a lot of ride on his fastball. He gets a lot of carry. Pretty good IVB. I think it's like 17 inches or something. Let me make sure that's right. 19 inches of IVB on the 4-seamer. So that's very good. Mm-hmm. And he manages to get a lot of lateral movement on his sweeper and his slider. And so that combination is very rare. You don't see, usually you have to sacrifice something. Usually you have like I think it's pronators versus supinators is the terminology. Some guys are good at getting behind the ball. Some guys are good at spinning the ball. And Bergert might be good at both. He's not really a big prospect, or was not really a big prospect. His results are fine, but he doesn't miss a ton of bats. Again, I think he's interesting. I don't know if he's good yet.
He's a big fly ball guy who gives up pretty hard contact. It's a bad combination. He is pitching in Kansas City now, but I think this was just his second home start. So most of the good starts he's had have been elsewhere, not in Kansas City since they acquired him. So I feel like it's combustible and you shouldn't put too much faith in it. But I guess if for those who see the glass half full, I guess you just explained why.
All right. And Bryce Elder had a good start. That's 3 quality starts in a row. I have zero faith in this. I see zero reason to believe that he's any good. 5.54 ERA for the season. xERA is near 5. And he's versus the Cubs next week. No reason to stream him, right?
Yeah, we've been down this road a few times before with Bryce Elder.
Any interest in Yoendrys Gomez or Caden Dana? Caden Dana of the Angels. He's only 21, debuted last season.
Mm-hmm. He's a prospect of note.
He was getting crushed at AAA, though. Right. 5.93 ERA.
Right. He wasn't doing well this year, so I don't see any reason to rush out and add him just because he came up and had a strong start against a bad offense. Mm-hmm. But it's a name to remember. Caden Dana has prospect pedigree and was good at AA last year, and AAA is Salt Lake, which is tough place to pitch.
All right, we got some hitters to talk about. Matt Chapman, 3 for 4 with 2 homers, 3 hard hit balls. He struggled in the second half. He was on the IL, but his numbers look very similar to last season overall. Yandy Diaz had a really strange 5 for 5 game with 1 run and no RBIs. So that was weird. He has an OPS over 900 since the All-Star break with 25 runs and 23 RBIs. So he's continued to be very useful. Giancarlo Stanton homered again on Tuesday. He started 3 straight and 5 of 6. I think you just start him at least in a roto league. Probably not in points unless if he's going to play 5 out of 6, then you probably just start him in points. But last time he played 3 games in a row in the outfield, I think he had to sit an entire weekend. So we'll see what happens here. And then Yordan Alvarez went 3 for 3 with a double, has multiple hits in 3 of his past 4 games. Good to see him getting hot. And Royce Lewis is running more lately, which is weird. 2 steals on Wednesday as part of a 3-hit game. He has 4 steals in his past 11 games. He's hitting for power in that stretch, but also striking out a ton. Still don't really know what Royce Lewis is. I think looking ahead to 2026, late round corner infielder.
Yeah, probably. He won't be
there's some upside there.
He won't be a top 12 third baseman, I'm pretty sure. I know like Devers is being removed from that group.
Yeah. There's one other guy in that discussion who's being removed. I can't remember.
Michael Garcia is being removed from that group. I just saw today. I don't know if that's who you were thinking of.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, not a top 12 guy, but I will have some late round interest. Let's talk about some pitching leftovers. Shane Bieber had his first poor start, 5 earned runs. It was really just one bad inning. I didn't see anything alarming here. He's getting hit hard at like 95 mile per hour average exit velocity through 3 starts, or like 94 after this one. But that's kind of always been the Shane Bieber thing. You live with the home runs and the hard contact because he never lets anybody on base. I have no concerns here. Do you?
Yeah. I mean, first 2 starts were great. This one, you don't like 5 earned runs in 6 innings, but everything else about the start looks good. I think Shane Bieber is pretty close to must start.
It was the second inning. He gave up all 5 runs. I think he gave up 6 of his 8 batted balls with an XBA over 400 in the second inning. He just didn't have it for 1 inning. Robbie Ray, not a great result, but I think this is his most encouraging start in a little while because he gave up 4 earned runs at Coors Field over 4 2/3 innings. It's Coors Field, but 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. Velocity was actually up 1.5 miles per hour from his season average, and the control was fine. Both of them have been recent red flags. Good to see those red flags going away in this start. I'm starting Robbie Ray. I don't know or care what the matchup is for next week. George Kirby. Yikes. It looked like he was starting to figure it out. 4 earned runs in his previous 4 starts. He's now given up 7 earned runs in 2 starts this season, with 2 others of 5 and 3 of 4. So that's how you get George Kirby having like a 4.60 ERA or whatever it is on the season. Look, he dealt with a shoulder injury. I think you sort of look at this season as a wash when you're looking ahead to 2026. I'm probably starting him for his next start and just kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt that this season's mostly a mulligan.
He's always kind of had these disaster starts interspersed with the many good starts that George Kirby gives you, and he did seem to have it put together. Last 7 starts, these are the numbers I have. Last 7 starts for George Kirby prior to this one: 2.95 ERA, 120 WHIP, 9.3 K per 9. His control this year hasn't been up to George Kirby standards, which is like best in the league. It's merely been good control. And so
his walk rate's twice as high as it was last year.
It turns out he's not any less hittable with good control rather than great control. So that's why the whip is running a little high. And I guess the ERA is too. But he doesn't seem like he's, it's like I said, it's still a good walk rate. It doesn't seem like there are these obvious red flags for George Kirby like there are for Spencer Strider, for instance, that would cause you to lose faith in him. I still have him as a top 20 pitcher rest of season, and like you, I would plan on starting him next time out.
I will probably rank him top 20 next year as well. Will Warren had a fine start. He just kind of peaks at fine, unfortunately. 5 whiffs on 68 pitches. Striker rate has been mediocre for a few months now. Could be in line for 2 starts next week versus Detroit at Boston. Is he a viable starter for next week?
I missed who you brought up.
Will Warren.
Will Warren. I have not had interest in starting Will Warren in months. He may have made the streamer pitchers in like the 10th spot a couple times during that stretch, but I don't see a lot of reason to feel confident in him.
And then Jeffrey Springs just had a Jeffrey Springs start. He was good against the Athletics. He had 9 whiffs on the changeup, 1 on the 67 other pitches he threw. I just think Jeffrey Springs is very funny. He has 1 good pitch.
You guys keep doubting him. He keeps getting it done.
I mean, he's got like a 4.10 ERA. Let's not
there were
overstate the extent to which he's getting
of August.
Done. He's fine.
But he was terrible. He was terrible at the start of the year. And then he's basically, other than those 2 starts in early August, he's been very reliable.
He's fine.
Since May 1st, it's like a 3.60 ERA for Jeffrey Springs.
All right. That's roughly a half run better than a 4.10 ERA. Let's call down to the bullpen. This was weird. Milwaukee gave the save to Jared Koenig. Koenig, probably? I think that's how you do the OENIG letters.
I don't know. I could look it up.
Abner Uribe worked the 8th.
Jared Koenig, yeah.
And he faced the 5, 6, and 7 hitters. That's weird. I don't really know what's going on there. Yeah, I don't know if they've lost confidence in him.
They shouldn't, because
I don't think so. He's been amazing. And then in Baltimore, Yanier Cano got the 9th inning, got 2 strikeouts for his second save. It's his first since Felix Bautista's injury. I don't really think there's anything here. I don't know if you do.
No.
All right, Arizona, Jake Woodford got the 9th for his second save. Is there a closer in Arizona?
I thought it was Sal Frank.
Yeah.
But the usage for him is like just at the point where it started to stabilize and he seemed like that's Andrew Sal Frank. Just Saul Frank, actually, is how you pronounce that. Saal Frank. Just when it seemed like the usage was stabilizing, he was clearly the guy. They've stopped using him in the 9th. So he'd still be the betting favorite, I guess, but not very strongly.
In Los Angeles for the Angels, Reed Detmers got the save on Wednesday, but I think it's just because Kenley Jansen had pitched 3 of the previous 4 days, so I don't think there's anything there. Jordan Leisure got his 6th save for the White Sox, and that was the only other notable thing that I saw. So let's move on to stream or not to stream, and we don't have a ton of options on Thursday. Would you start Christian Javier versus the Yankees? Remember, I'm going to go ahead and guess the last time he faced them. No, that's not right. His no-hitter wasn't against the Yankees, was it? Scratch that. It was against the Phillies. It was in the World Series. Christian Javier, start him against the Yankees? I kind of think I would.
I think that's very dangerous.
I
like what I saw from him in his last start, but the Yankees seems like way too dangerous a time to try him out.
Would you start Shane Smith at the Twins?
Yes. That is the one I like for Thursday. And the only one I like for Thursday.
I'm not going to touch Taj Bradley versus the White Sox. I need about 3 months of good Taj Bradley performance before I trust him.
Yeah.
On Friday, Javier Assad versus the Nationals, Martin Perez versus the Tigers, Dean Kramer versus the Dodgers, Ian Seymour versus the Guardians, Michael McGreevy versus the Giants, Jose Soriano versus the A's, Peyton Tolley at the Diamondbacks, and Eduardo Rodriguez versus the Red Sox. I think Peyton Tolley stands out. Probably shouldn't be a streamer.
I love Peyton Tolley. I was telling Frank yesterday how much I love him. Like I'm ready to say he's my Rookie of the Year pick for next year. Maybe it'll be famous last words when Arizona knocks him around for 6 runs, but that fastball just looked so sinister to me.
That fastball looks like it might be like a 70 grade pitch. It's really good. Yeah. It's a great foundation.
So I like Tolley at Arizona. I like Soriano against the Athletics. I pretty much always like Jose Soriano. I like Ian Seymour against the Guardians.
I like Ian Seymour.
There are some good options here Friday.
All right, and that is going to do it for Fantasy Baseball today. On Thursday, we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll probably talk about some sitcom actors tomorrow or something. We'll see you then. Bye.